Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to all the members of this House for being here this evening. But it is my pleasure to speak to the motion regarding the Select Committee on Emergency Oversight. As we all know, currently we are going through a very challenging time. Businesses have had to close down, elective surgeries have been postponed, schools have been closed, and a very unknown, unpredictable phase of our lives have begun. No one could have imagined everything except essential services would completely shutter. I would like to take a moment, though, to thank all of those essential service workers for going to work day in and day out, whether they were the frontline healthcare workers, grocery workers, our truckers ensuring goods get to our stores, and food made it to our tables. I'd also like to take a moment to thank members of this legislature, our clerks, our speaker, all for also being here to support all of us to ensure that we continue to move Ontario forward. Thank you very much. We all agree that nothing is more important than protecting the health and safety of all of Ontarians. That is why, since we first learned of COVID-19, our government has responded to the situation and continues to act decisively to contain the spread of this deadly, horrific virus. Whatever tools we have at our disposal in order to protect the health and well-being of all of us. Speaker, Ontarians have made significant sacrifices over the past 4 months to help stop the spread of COVID-19. And we must not allow the progress we have made to be undone, and we must maintain our vigilance until an effective vaccine is available. We must gradually and safely reopen Ontario, recognizing that COVID-19 still poses a threat, even after this declaration of emergency has ended. We need to continue down the path of recovery by easing restrictions where appropriate, while maintaining important select measures to address the ongoing threat of COVID-19. And of course, this would include the ability to extend and amend certain existing orders to best protect all of Ontario, such as those related to workplace rules or practices. Of course, this includes restricting gatherings and events and compliance with public health advice. Updates to the orders would be guided by public health advice and our resolve to stop the spread of COVID-19. We need to continue to support our frontline workers and ensure the health and well-being of all Ontarians. And our government will continue to take a balanced action that allows Ontarians to respond quickly and prudently as the situation continues to evolve. Speaker, we all agree in this House that a Select Committee on Emergency Management Oversight can receive and review reports from the Premier or his designate on any extensions of emergency orders by the Lieutenant Governor and Council that relates to COVID-19 pandemic. The committee shall be comprised of 7 members of government party, 3 members of the official opposition, and 1 independent member. And this allows us all to work together. And the committee is going to meet at the call of the chair with up to 30 minutes for the Premier or his designate to make an opening statement. And it gives up to 60 minutes for members of the recognized parties to pose questions to the Premier or his designate. That's significant a time for everybody to really talk and meet and be together. Speaker, I'd like to talk a little bit about what's been happening in my riding, in Mississauga, and across this province. I've worked with numerous organizations. I'll talk about one in particular right now, which is the Eden Food for Change. The Eden Food for Change is a designated area that provides Meals on Wheels, not just in Mississauga, but also in Milton. I've taken the time to help raise funds for Eden Food for Change and providing donations of food. And they've done such significant work by ensuring that not just those who previously frequented food banks, but as we've seen through the pandemic, lots of new people who never thought that they would have to go to a food bank have finally said, we need help. We've worked together with my colleague here from Mississauga-Malton with Saidam Food Bank, who have been providing meals to all the people across Ontario. The Canada-India Foundation. One day we served 1,400 meals to the Trillium Health Partners, and we also came right down here to the Toronto Rehab Centre where we provided meals to all of the staff. My Indians in Canada have been supporting students, international students, who have now no longer have a job to go to, and it's been extremely difficult for those because they've not been able to go to class, they've had to do online learning, English is not their first language, it's been a very difficult time for all of them. And Yogi Divine, who have been packaging foods for 1 month's supply and giving it to families in need. I really have to thank all of the organizations for the great work that they've been doing. And another one that is close to my heart, Shub Helping Hands. They've been hiring students and still continue to hire students with donations from the community to be able to help provide food, helping our many seniors organizations. Seniors have been, those who are at home, have been feeling very alone. And through Zoom meetings and other ways, been able to contact them continuously to ensure that they're able to not feel lonely, to help them with meditation, to help them understand what's happening and to make sure that everybody has the availability to not have to go hungry. Speaker, I would like to talk a little about what's been happening in other jurisdictions and what they've been doing and dealing with COVID-19. They've all enacted emergency measures. Some of them completely locked down. Many of them opened too early. We've seen what's happened in the United States, in many of their states, where we're seeing not just significant numbers of COVID-19 in the tens of thousands, but many, many people dying. In the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister contracted COVID-19 and had to be hospitalized. Australia, unfortunately, now has had to go back into lockdown. I have family in Melbourne, and they've completely shuttered everything down. Very difficult times for everybody around this world. We all know that our own First Lady here in Canada contracted COVID-19 while she was in the UK, and she had to come back in quarantine. Viruses, illnesses, diseases do not look at who you are and what the color of your skin is, how much money you have. It doesn't look at that. If you're going to contract it, it's going to come after you. It's such a devastating illness, and some people have really had a tough time. We understand the need to allow this legislature to function, to support Ontarians, which is why this motion is so important. All members of this House, on all sides, were elected to represent their respective communities, and I truly believe that although we may occasionally disagree with proposed motions or legislation, that the end result for all of us is a better Ontario. Speaker, the people of this province have really stepped up. They've stayed at home. They've continued to physically distance. And I want to take a moment to really thank the businesses who've stepped up with providing personal protective equipment, something I never heard of before COVID-19. PPE, it's become such a household word today, just like COVID-19 has. Many of our companies retooled their organizations. They really came to us. I've spoken to many of them who are looking at developing cures, or at least finding ways that people may not need to be on a ventilator. It's really been heartwarming. At the same time, it's put us to the test as Ontarians. It's put us to the test as a society. It's put the whole world to a test to see how we can cope and how we can find solutions. And I think that's what this legislature is all about, finding solutions, Speaker. But it's also been extremely heartbreaking. The number of deaths, especially in our long-term care homes, has been extremely devastating. What can be more sad than not having a loved one visit you when you're in a long-term care home or in hospital? To not be able to visit your nearest and dearest in the long-term care or hospital is equally heartbreaking. And for those who have lost a loved one, they may not even be able to attend the funeral or even the family members may not even be able to grieve together. But we can only move to open our province as long as our COVID-positive numbers go down. Now, we have seen our communities really work hard, which is why parts of our province will soon move to Stage 3. On the advice of our Chief Medical Officers of Health across this province, many more businesses can now open. We all know that restaurants have been significantly affected by this pandemic, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Larger gatherings, couples finally being able to marry with more guests. It's something that I think we can all start to look forward to. Now, in the region of Peel, along with many other regions, we will not be moving to Stage 3 yet. But we are looking to join and open soon as long as our COVID numbers continue to decline. Each day, our Premier continues to speak with the public, with media, and consults with all of us. Speaker, I've hosted a number of roundtables during COVID-19. I've met with the business community. Mississauga Board of Trade, we came together and we discussed with a variety of different businesses, where I asked them to provide us with solutions. What will they do to help us open the economy, to help us open their businesses? What will they do as far as sanitizing? What will they do to make sure that people do maintain physical distancing? What can they do to allow us to convince the Chief Medical Officer of Health that they will do the right thing? And they really stepped up. I've had a roundtable with gym owners. We spent two and a half hours talking about what each different location was able to do to make sure that they kept sanitized. It's really exciting to see that some gyms will be able to open very, very soon. I know for many of my constituents, that is a significant part of their health and well-being. It's very, very important. For restaurant owners, I can't imagine what's been happening to the restaurant owner business. I myself went to visit a patio on Saturday night, and it was I felt great that I was able to support a local business, that I was able to get out with a couple of members of my family and to be able to have a drink and be together and socialize once again. I really missed that part of our lives. Our business improvement associations, my local Streetsville one, where most of them are very small businesses, mom and pop shops, a pub at the corner of the street, where they've really, really been suffering. And it's been nothing short of devastating. I did a faith group roundtable, an interfaith group. So I heard from people from different faiths on what they would do. Similarly, I asked them to come to me and say to me how we can physically distance, how we can make sure that sanitation will take place. I talked about if they have a Sunday congregation, perhaps splitting it into 2 or 3 congregations, about perhaps having one on Saturday, one on Sunday, making sure that the members of the congregation would book in advance so that everybody had the opportunity to be able to go back to church. What is very difficult when we talk about our seniors and perhaps having Zoom meetings with them, the church for many people is the only social activity that they have in their lives. So for them, it was critical for us to potentially get our churches up and running, and our faith groups and our temples and our gurdwaras and our mosques. That is such a significant part of their life, and for many of them, the only part of their life that they're able to meet with other members of their community. Whereas we still see many of our seniors, we really don't want too many of our seniors going out, as it seems that COVID-19 specifically is more devastating to the senior population. For a lot of them, they've really thanked our government as a whole and all members for really looking out for them, for making sure that we're taking a slow approach to ensuring that we don't move things too fast so that we can hurt people. Through our Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, we were able to do many Zoom meetings with, for example, the bio conference, which is supposed to take place in San Diego. We were going to visit. We had a significant number of Ontario companies, that we were still able to do the business-to-business meetings. And you know, through those meetings, we still got significant interest in companies investing in Ontario. Speaker, in Ontario we do, and I'll say compared to no other jurisdiction, our universities, our colleges, our schools, we're churning out some of the best and brightest. No, and I say that with significant confidence. And you know what? The world knows that, which is why they want to come here. They want to utilize our talent, and they want to make sure that that companies can grow and thrive. Another of the conferences that I joined our minister on roundtables was the Collision Conference, where we have members of the Information and Communication Technology group. And we talked about data mining. And you know what? I put them together with our Minister of Colleges and Universities, and I told them, I said, why are you not coming here and teaching in those colleges and universities? Be part of our curriculum so that when our students graduate, they know exactly what the job ahead of them is, what companies are looking for, what they need to know. And you know, I was able to put them in contact with those ministries and with other organizations and other businesses here locally, and they were very thankful for that. So, you know, the new world that we are in is this virtual world where perhaps I don't believe that it changes. You know, face-to-face meetings will always be significant. But in today's world, the virtual reality that we're living in and having these meetings, global meetings, is significant. I'd like to talk a little bit about, you know, although Peel, Toronto, Greater Toronto, Hamilton area, and other jurisdictions like Windsor, Essex will not be joining in this stage 3, I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic because the people of Ontario, the people of our regions, they want to move to that next step. So I believe that they're going to continue to take the correct measures. I also believe that our businesses have been wonderful. They've been prepared, putting stickers on the floor, making sure that we're ready to support our businesses and to support our consumers so that they have the faith to go back and start purchasing items for their home and for their families. In my riding, and my staff and I and volunteers, we've taken the time to contact our constituents and to talk to them and ask them, just to make sure that they're okay, just to say if there's anything you need, if there's anything that our office can support them with, that we're there, we are open, and we're there to support you. I spend a lot of time talking to our local mayor, our councillors, our federal counterparts, so that together we can collectively work to ensure our Ontarians and our customers and our clients and our constituents are well served, to make sure that things like CERB is available to them, that rent relief is available to them, that the business loans are available to them, and to maneuver the system. It's extremely difficult when you're a small business. Sometimes you just don't have the same tools that you can use to tap into all the available assistance that's out there. Each Friday, the colleagues and I from Mississauga and from Etobicoke Lakeshore, we chat with the Trillium Health Partners. And we have an update, a weekly update on what's happening at the hospital, the testing that they're doing. Do they have an outbreak? What about patient visits? You know, I spoke earlier about how difficult it is for those people who are in hospital not allowing families to be able to come and visit with them. I did that firsthand this weekend, Speaker. My brother-in-law has stage 4 cancer, and he's in Credit Valley Hospital. But none of us, not even his family, can go to visit. But he was luckily on the main floor, so we did a window visit. We went to the window yesterday, and the nurse was wonderful. She called us, she FaceTimed us. We were able to wave to him and talk to him through that. And it was sad. It was sad, even though we were there to, you know, to pep him up a little and to talk to him. It was sad. The fact that his wife, his children, his grandchildren, his other family members were not able to be with him when he's in pain, when he doesn't know how long he has. He's not end of life, which is why he's not palliative in that sense, which is why they're not letting us. But I called the hospital and they said, you know what, we have an outbreak. So my answer to his family was, well, they have an outbreak. If you go, you could potentially make it worse. Other people could come in and make it worse. So we have to follow these guidelines because it's for the safety of all of those patients, all of that staff, and for you too. So, I'm going to conclude very shortly, Speaker, and just talk about, this motion as it is. And we understand that there's an amendment to the motion, but I'm going to not support the amendment, and I'm asking the members opposite to support the motion so that we can move forward, so that we can ensure that the people of Ontario, they have something to look forward to. We're seeing our numbers go down. We're seeing the people of this province work really, really hard. We don't want to go the way of the United States. Australia, I was watching what Australia was doing. They were very careful, but still they got a second wave. We don't want that to happen here in Ontario. We want to ensure that we can move forward. We want to ensure that our government has the tools to be able to extend these measures, to be able to have this select committee, to listen to the Premier and ask questions of the Premier or his designate, so that we can make sure the people of Ontario are in the right place at the right time as we move forward with the advice of our Chief Medical Officers of Health. I'd like to thank everybody in this, the chamber today, and I'd like to thank you, Speaker, and everyone else and the clerks once again. And I do ask the members opposite to please support the motion. Thank you very much.